Welcome to RBN, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm actually walking home from. There's been a lot of protests at the University of Chicago, so I'll have my camera on in a little bit. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's good
yeah,
to be here.
yeah. I saw that you was at protest. We're gonna get to that here very soon. Actually, I want to ask you about the protest you're at. But what I always do when I bring on people on the RBN for the first time, once again, Kobe is that the best way to call it Kobe? This is the first time we met Kobe. Great communist educator. I want to bring you on. I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself, your work, how you got into activism, because you are constantly a part of these free Palestine protests as well. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah. So my name on Twitter is Dubula, which is a Zulu word. It means shoot, and it comes from a. I don't want to get your channel flagged or anything, so I won't say the name of the song. But it comes from an anti-apartheid song. Um, basically about armed struggle against oppressors. And so I grew up in South Africa. My parents are Black Americans. They moved there in the '90s when I was a kid. I was like 2 years old. Um, and I moved to Chicago in 2015 for university. So I've been here for almost 10 years. Um, I organize with the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. I'm one of the co-chairs. I'm also a member of Freedom Road Socialist Organization, and I teach um, middle school science on the south side of Chicago.
Nice.
Um, I'm also, as of about a month ago, I'm one of the co-chairs of the Coalition to March on the DNC, because the Democratic National Convention is going to be in Chicago between August 19th and 22nd. So, Genocide Joe, Killer Kamala, all those genocide supporting politicians, they're going to be here in Chicago, and we're planning to get tens of thousands of people out to protest against it.
That's fantastic stuff. And I definitely got to hook up with you because I have plans on going to Chicago too with our boy Kid. And I definitely want to be part of any action to hold Genocide Joe accountable. It's great that you're doing all this amazing work on the ground. You've been not only you are actually working in education, you are actually participating in what I would define as revolutionary education as well, and also being in the street. So, much props to you. It's great to have you on RBN. This is the first time we got to meet. Recommended by Zoe. You guys know Zoe is love, Zoe is life. Always bringing the base guest. So it's great to meet you. It's okay, to call you Kobe. I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah, that's
All
fine.
right, sounds good. And do you mind? Because I'm actually want to learn something. I was just Google. I found an article on Anthony Gay. Do you want to talk about Anthony Gay, who in his story?
Yeah, so let me just give a little bit of context about the Chicago Alliance. So the National Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression came out of the campaign to free Angela Davis and all political prisoners in the 1970s, in 1973 specifically. And since then, we've been dealing with a lot of repression from the police and from the state more broadly. And we were, a few years ago, up until 2019, we were down to just the Chicago chapter and another chapter in Louisville. So we uh, through um, the rebellion after the murder of Michael Brown, we built up the organization, connected with people nationally, and I say we. I only came around in 2019, but we built up the organization to where we could reestablish ourselves as a national organization. So now, we were in. Uh, Last time I checked, it was about 24 cities. It's probably more than that now. Um, uh, and part of the work that we do is fight to free people who've been tortured by police and to confessing to things that they didn't do, or people who are, had uh, were framed by the police or political prisoners. So Anthony Gay, um, he was originally locked up in the early 2000s uh, over like a very, very petty quote unquote crime. Um, and he spent 22 years in solitary confinement.
Jesus
Um,
Christ.
yeah, so, according to the UN definition of torture, solitary confinement for longer than 14 days is a form of torture. And, the this criminal system has, locked him up for 22 years. Um, and he, is a very brilliant person, a very brilliant organizer, jailhouse lawyer. When he got out, he represented himself, got the charges, got himself out. But then they planted a gun on him, so they, arrested him on a bogus gun charge, and now he's locked up again in federal prison. So we're trying to connect, not just on the Chicago level, but nationally, connect people to fight for him to get out. So if you go to caarpr.org, you can find more information, more specifics. You can also go to on social media, CAARPR now, at on Twitter. That's where the updates about Anthony Gay and other other cases that we're working on. That's where we post those updates.
Yeah, look at this. The march on the DNC will be, man, dude. This Chicago is about to be wow. That's why they're talking about doing it virtual. They're talking about canceling. I think they probably will now. The march on the DNC will be a march for Palestine. Our main demand would be stand with Palestine in U.S. aid to Israel. Apartheid Israel has murdered over 30,000 people between October 7th and December 31st. So they're not even counting this year, my friends.
Yeah.
They're not even counting and there's so many people count on the rubble. That's why I'm more inclined to believe the Ralph Nader figures. He explains the science of it, how you have all the people in the rubble, based on how long the famine is going on, based on how many diseases going on. Like he had a very scientific model he used, and based on that, he said it has to be around 100,000 dead around. And I am more inclined to believe that number, and time will tell because God knows what the number actually is right now.
Mhm.
Um, Yet the U.S. continues to. I'm sorry, I'm just reading a little bit from your guys' site because I'm seeing it for the first time myself. Yet the United States continues to back the massacres. Almost 40 years ago, Joe Biden said the United States backed Israel with billions of dollars annually out of naked self-interest, and the United States will have to invent an Israel if it didn't exist. I'm glad he brought that up. I'm glad he brought that
Mhm.
up. And you guys know it's not a coincidence. And I want to share this story. I want to get you in here for your thoughts, Kobe. You guys know that Joe Biden received more APAC money than any politician in American history, right? And it's a coincidence that he's now in charge when they are now waging their Knockbook 2.0. Kobe, do you have anything you want to add on before I move on? Going once, go twice past you with any other thoughts?
Yeah. I think there's kind of a misconception that a lot of people have that um, that Israel is controlling the United States, and that like if it wasn't for the Zionists putting their hands into American politics, the U.S. wouldn't be supporting Israel, which is not true. Like Joe Biden said, Israel is like a landed aircraft carrier. It exists to support the interests of U.S. and European imperialism, and that's why they support Israel no matter what. For the same reason they supported apartheid South Africa, back in the 70s and 80s, because that was their way of dominating oppressed nations in Southern Africa. And right now, they're one of their main ways of dominating oppressed nations in the Middle East and North Africa is through Israel. So that any we have to sort of see where the primary enemy is, which is American imperialism, and Western imperialism more broadly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was to the point. You even have RFK Jr., the guy I was playing earlier, the unhinged Zionist. He even admitted that part out loud. He's like, Israel is important because it's almost like an aircraft carrier for us. It's a very important strategic uh, location for them, and they're there to create all this chaos. And these people like Tosi who trying to make this about some sort of religious struggle, the Islamists who want to destroy the West. These people are living in peace and harmony, Muslim, Christians. You have Muslims and Christians in Palestine now who live in
Mhm.
harmony. So this thing they try to do to confuse people, and a lot of people have been confused for a long time. But I'm glad people are starting to wake up, especially this new revolutionary generation. Like Gen Z is as a millennial, bro. I'm just so excited, and God knows what I think they call them Generation Alpha or whatever now. The
Mhm.
ones Alpha. God knows what they're gonna be like because they gonna know nothing but this struggle shit. You know what I mean? They're gonna
Mhm.
we see. I want to hear your thoughts on this because you're out there in the streets, and once again, I always implore my brothers and sisters to be safe out there because we are living in this era of fascism where we have collaboration between our police, the IDF, they train together, and now the corruption and how intertwined they are being exposed, and it's so like I've been studying this issue for years, and even I'm still shocked to this day. But like how
Mhm.
blatant the corruption and how intertwined Israeli apartheid violence is with our police state. And I want you to speak on that when I pass it to you as well. But look at this tweet. I give shout out to Raphael here for this tweet highlighting this. Billionaire CEOs didn't just reach Mayor Adams in a private chat, urging him to arrest pro-Palestine Columbia students. They also offered private staff to help the NYPD. The mayor accepted. Guys, I told you we live in a new era of the Pinkertons. We have
Mhm.
capital hired thugs teaming up with the state, just like in UCLA, to crack down on protests and people criticizing the government. Kobe, you want to take this on? Anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, I think that's why solidarity between oppressed people is so important.
Yeah.
Like our oppressors are sharing resources, they're sharing money, they're sharing tactics, strategies, techniques, technologies, all these different things. We talk about how the like during the Ferguson uprising, um, you know, the the tear gas that was used on people who were protesting against the murder of Michael Brown um,
Yeah.
was Israeli manufactured tear gas. So Palestinians who were uh, on the ground and some who were witnessing this from Palestine were giving people tips on how to deal with that tear gas. And it didn't just happen in 2014. Like this is decades of solidarity. Going back to Kwame Ture, formerly known as Stokely Carmichael, and Malcolm X,
Yes.
leaders of the civil rights movement here, who supported Palestinian liberation, as well as Nelson Mandela when he was in the U.S. He was asked, why do you support Yasser Arafat and Gaddafi and Fidel Castro? And he said, well, when America was, giving us a cold shoulder, um, these other countries that you referred to as dictatorships, they were supporting our liberation struggle. So we
Yes,
support
sir.
theirs, and our freedom is not complete without the freedom of the Palestinians. So that like imperialism is like a global system, and um, there's uh, the cop cities that are coming up, mainly in Atlanta, but also in Chicago. We had um, a cop city that was being established here as well. Um, like those are like Israeli occupation force
Yeah.
centers, where they're training police to use the same horrific techniques that they use on Palestinians, on black and brown people here. Like the chokehold that Derek Chauvin used to kill George Floyd. That was something that Palestinians have seen from the Israeli occupation forces in the past. So, there's kind of sometimes people have this impulse of like, well, I have too many problems here to care about what's going on, halfway around the world. But the thing is, your problems are connected. So the solution, and what we say in Freedom Road Socialist Organization, is that we have to unite the many to defeat the few. Because our oppressors, our exploiters, there's always going to be less of them than there are of us. And their strategy, because of that, is to divide and conquer. So our strategy is to unite and fight. And everything you've said, I agree with, and that's why solidarity is the weapon that we use to fight back.
Yeah, that's why it's so great to have you on, Kobe, because that was so on point. Like I couldn't say it better myself because this is what I've been stressing, and this is why I've been telling you guys have been so important over the last few decades. The international solidarity. I had Nkosi Mandela on, the grandson of Nelson Mandela on. The solidarity between South Africans, African Americans, Afro Brazilians as well, because they've been on the side of Palestinians. I would throw them in, and Palestinians. We've been in the struggle in the radical side. The people who don't fall for the capitalist Zionist head face, like many of the Negro sellouts in our community. We got to stay on the path of revolutionary struggle and stay in solidarity with each other. That's why I can't stand oppression Olympics. And you see this all the time. Like, why should I be worried about the Palestine? Like, what are you talking about? They are literally practicing over there to bring stuff over here. And now, you know how Israel labeled Palestinians as domestic terrorists, terrorists all the time. They doing that for people who are protesting Cop City. The
Mhm.
same tactics that they use on Palestinians for years, they're just now implementing it domestically, and no one's batting an eye. The whole labeling people domestic terrorists, using tear gas. Once again, I explained many times, tear gas is a war crime, my friends. The cops has been lying to people about the effects of tear gas, and there's a reason why it's banned in war, but they just use it on our people all the time, and no one questioned it. Now, what I'm
Mhm.
showing here, I'll show you guys a collection. I saw one from Germany, France, and London. People rebelling against the Zionist empire, and now is the time we need to really connect, especially with these international communities standing against apartheid. Because you had the International Court of Justice, you have Israel giving these bullshit arguments. They were getting booed, guys. Like they're holding on by a thread of the U.S. empire. So now is when we maximize our pressure. Now because you have Biden, the establishment doing the worst thing they possibly can by condemning the terror, the protesters as terrorists and anti-Semites. Only thing they did was throw fuel on the fire. It made things even more like I'm so excited because I never seen this much level of energy against not only just apartheid, not only just against Israel, but people are learning a lot about how our empire works, seeing through the war in Ukraine. Kobe, are you seeing that like the same energy? I know you just came back from protests. These protests are popping up all over the place. I was just at KU. There are protests in St. Louis. I'm thinking about going to Washington U here soon to cover that. It's about only 3 hours away. I think I can do that. So, Kobe, anything else you want to add if you want to piggyback off of that before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, you know, one thing that is interesting, is the polarization between the people and the government, that is allegedly supposed to represent us. Um, you know, there's been in every city since October. That's almost 8 months now. In every city in the U.S., even in like Mississippi, and in places that a year ago never would have even dreamed of having protests for Palestine. There's hundreds of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people coming out, and you don't see that. You don't see Zionists doing it. Because they can't do that. They don't have that kind of mass support. What they have is the money. What they have is the support of um, corporations and of bourgeois politicians. So you know, we need to build on that. We need to, sustain that momentum, sustain that pressure, and build it up into something that can really challenge, and possibly overthrow this system of oppression and exploitation that we're living under right now.